He's Bollywood's biggest and most respected voice. There have been several encounters, but this episode was special. The Big B has never been as candid as in this episode of Frankly Speaking with Arnab Goswami. After all, it's the only episode you'll find where Amitabh Bachchan speaks his heart out.
The film fraternity wants to be on the right side of the politicians. Why? I don't understand this. Why?
I think that there may be some truth in that. I think that we are more concerned with our own creative work. We're more concerned about how we're going to face the camera.
That's an excuse, sir.
No, it's not an excuse. It's our profession. We don't want to upset the powers that be because we are vulnerable. We don't have a force.
Vulnerable to what?
To any kind of powerful act that can come against us. And we don't want to be in that situation.
Bollywood is vulnerable. Amitabh Bachchan, for example.
Oh, yes.
1 second. Just hold me. Mr. Bachchan, I will take that from anyone. But I will not take that from Amitabh Bachchan because...
Please,
1 second.
Please defend that statement.
So I'll defend that statement, Mr. Bachchan.
Tell me
because
why.
Anyone who has followed your career knows that when you were injured on the sets of a film, perhaps in the history of independent India, there have been a few occasions when the entire country has prayed for one individual.
Yeah.
That has been your support base in the 80s, and that is your... 1 second, sir. That is your support base now. I don't think anyone watching this Frankly Speaking interview will say, we are vulnerable. I think the Hindi film industry has more power than it has. It just chooses to be scared of politicians. Now, you can defend, sir, why you feel the Hindi film industry is scared of politicians.
Yeah, I think
why
because it's
scared?
not our profession. There have been many artists and they are very brave and I admire them because they have broken the shackles and gone ahead, taken up politics and succeeded. There are some of us, me particular, I was not comfortable because I don't know the job. And yes, I am vulnerable. I am still today. I'm afraid of doing anything wrong for fear that the powers that be can make my life miserable.
What do you mean? Explain that. Yeah. Who's going to... One second.
No. This is your perception.
Amitabh Bachchan says...
No, this is your perception.
Are you worried that if you say something, if you speak up or you say something that offends the powers that be, that they will go after you?
I speak from a lot of personal experience, so that's why I defend myself.
When have they gone after you?
Well, let's not forget the entire Bofors scandal, for example. And the pain of that and the misery that we went through has taught me a lesson for life. And I will teach it to every generation of mine.
Which is what?
Which is that please do not take on the establishment.
Play safe.
Yeah.
You will have views on this.
I'll have my personal views.
But you will not express them publicly.
No, I'm telling you.
So, for example, there is a whole issue on the beef ban in Maharashtra. What is your view on that?
I'm a vegetarian, so I won't be able to comment.
Sir, don't avoid it.
Sorry?
Don't avoid it.
No, seriously. I really don't know what the issue is.
The issue is that people are being told they can't eat beef, they can't consume beef, they can't bring beef.
Is there a law? Is there a law that has been passed?
Yes, there is a law which has been passed on that.
Really?
Subject. Yes, there has been. What is your view on it?
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see this law.
Do people
because if there is a law on it, then we'll have to respect that law. There will be lobbies, there will be oppositions, there will be all kinds of things. But let the law be raised. We'll follow the law.
The then Chief Minister of Gujarat featured on Frankly Speaking with Arnab Goswami. 5 years before he would become the Prime Minister, Narendra Modi would go on to back LK Advani for the country's top post. He was asked a specific question on whether 2014 would see him face off with Rahul Gandhi. The rest, as they say, is history.
Personalized campaign से बीजेपी को फायदा कैसे होगा? When you are saying that the issue is development, but at every opportunity, I am asking you this question again and again, Mr. Modi, because at the end of the day, ऐसा लग रहा है कि in this election, and tell me if my analysis is right or wrong, this election it's Mr. Advani versus Manmohan Singh. In the next election, it's going to be Narendra Modi versus possibly Rahul Gandhi.
I don't think
I am asking you a straight question. That's
मैं नहीं मानता हूँ कि जो आप नाम दे रहे हैं वो गुजरात का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए आएंगे. I don't think. वो गुजरात का चुनाव लड़ने के लिए क्यों आएंगे?
2014 में आप गुजरात का चुनाव लड़ेंगे कि नेशनल चुनाव लड़ेंगे?
देखिए, मेरी पार्टी ने अगर मुझे टिकट दिया तो मैं गुजरात का चुनाव लड़ूंगा।
You are
और मेरी पार्टी मुझे कहे कि संगठन का काम करो तो मैं संगठन का काम करूंगा।
मोदी जी, क्या आप मानते हैं, दिस our country, now it's 24 years after Mandal, 22 years after the Babri Masjid demolition. Many people felt that this election was a real opportunity to move beyond caste and to move totally beyond religion. And that you could have played a role in actually making sure that the focus totally moves away from caste and religion. My question to you, Mr. Modi, is that when people like Amit Shah said Mullah Mulayam, there was a religious symbolism to it. When Giriraj Singh says those who don't vote for Modi should go to Pakistan, Pakistan is their Makkah, Medina, there is a clear religious overtone to it. You did tweet against it. You indicated that you disapproved of it. But you could have come out much stronger. You could have publicly taken a position, been tougher, been harsher. And had you done that, with the stature you command...
अगर वो मैं न करता, मेरी इंटरनल व्यवस्था में वो न किया होता, तो वो कंटिन्यू नहीं रहता क्या? बंद हो गया कि नहीं? बंद हुआ कि नहीं हुआ? इसका मतलब मैंने कोई टफ स्टैंड लिया है, इतना तो आप भी समझ सकते हो। लेकिन वो मुझे मीडिया में जा करके हो हल्ला करना चाहिए, जरूरी थोड़ा है क्या?
Do you feel you could have been tougher?
मैं हो टफर हुआ हूँ, इसीलिए तो हुआ है जी। मैं ऐसी चीज़ों को न मैं खुद करता हूँ जी।
One of her last television interviews before she returned and was assassinated in Rawalpindi. One of Pakistan's most iconic politicians, Benazir Bhutto, knew her return would be unsafe. In this frankly speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, from what would be her last stopover, Benazir declared she was ready to confront the dictatorship back home.
You said a ship in an anchor is safe, but that's not what ships are meant for.
I still agree with that. My life is not safe. I may have my freedom, but my life is not safe because I have not come to a settlement with the military regime.
You've been through a lot. Now this year, everything's going to change for you. You could be in Pakistan. You'll be drawn into the vortex of Pakistani politics by the calendar, if nothing else. What does this mean for you personally?
Excited. And also I know that I face an uncertain future.
You still think about when you step foot on your soil again?
Well, I think
about that day coming?
I think of that day coming very soon. I look forward to being able to go to my father's grave and to pray there. I look forward to being in my own home. I miss looking at the trees, but most of all, I miss the people.
For those people who say that Benazir Bhutto is a pampered princess who's not going to go back eventually and still live a life outside and maybe control her party from the outside, not setting foot on her own soil despite saying all this.
Well, my father brought me up as a pampered princess. So it's a life that I grew up with. But at the same time, I also chose prison, that I was born into a particular life. But the choices I made led me into hardship and into turbulence. And the last 10 years have been very difficult years for my family and for myself.
Will you take a flight knowing that if you set foot on Pakistan, you could be arrested?
Of course.
Even if you know that you'll be arrested,
I know,
you'll go?
Of course. Of course.
Where will the realist in you go then?
If it's a risk that I take. I know I will be arrested tomorrow if I go back to Pakistan. The reason I haven't gone back is so that I can help my party.
So you won't take anyone's permission. You are going back.
Of course.
No? You fear for your life. What happens to you, your family? You've built up your family. You've seen your children now grow. You're settled, Ms. Bhutto. You're willing to unsettle yourself once again.
I'm not settled. I'm not settled, Every day the phone call rings. You never know what bad news is coming.
Why?
So I'm not settled. Well, you never know who's been killed. You never know who's been arrested. So it's not a life of certainty. My husband is in New York because he's sick and he can't travel. The kids are over here. I'm going back and forth between the two. It's the most unsettled life that anybody could ever have, and it's unsettled because I'm confronting a military dictatorship. It's unsettled because I have confronted dictatorship in all its forms, but I have never wavered from it, and I'm not going to waver from it. And I plan to go back to Pakistan because it's my home. I stayed out for 10 years because I'm a politician.
A Bollywood heartthrob, and also the most controversial one. Salman Khan, in this Frankly Speaking interview, for the first time on Indian television, opened up on the 2002 hit-and-run case. Unfazed and candid about his thoughts, Salman spoke to Arnab about a case which continues to haunt the superstar.
How many real friends do you have now?
4, 5 of them.
That's all?
Yeah.
You have just 4 or 5 friends?
Yeah, I mean, like I know people, they're well-wishers and stuff like that, but the guys who have grown up with, I mean, who I've known for the longest time, there, and most of them are like,
Has everybody stood by you through your ups and downs?
Yeah.
What about your downs? What is your greatest low point, Salman?
I have never seen any down in my entire life.
How can you say that?
I'm saying that. I mean, if you compare it from me doing well and not doing well and all that stuff,
No, I don't mean that. I mean, I don't know what you think.
Like, I mean, from this finger onwards to everything is all fine, and financially we're good. Our family is there. Everybody is there. Mom, dad, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. MashaAllah, everybody is healthy. What more? What down? There is no down in my life. I mean, if everything has to go down from now, I mean, nothing, gone, finished. Even then, we are like very happy that we've seen so much of life that more than 90% of the country is not seen it.
Court cases?
Huh?
Court cases?
Court cases, eh?
Now there was a press conference a few days back. A former police inspector turned lawyer does a press conference, and he said that Salman Khan has dragged this case. He's making sure that he's handling the police, he's handling the eyewitnesses. Because of him, the case is going on. That case continues. Is that not a challenge for you?
Well, if that was the case, this case would have been, finished off a long time ago.
Why do you say that?
Because if he says that, the cops are helping us and the judges are helping us, then this would have been over a long time ago. He's got this thinking, and our thinking is totally the opposite. We are fighting in court against them to stay out. Now everybody can talk about this. Just the people who are involved in it can't say anything because it's sub judice. So dunya, they don't know what the case is about. They're comparing it to cases that are happening in the near future. Our case is a totally different case altogether. They were caught red-handed. Everything, somebody else was driving in our case. You know the whole scene, but we can't talk about it.
Why do you picked up the phone and spoken to this person after that incident?
No, why should you?
Have you become more mellow?
I don't know. No, I'm still the same guy. If you manage to piss me off, I will get pissed off.
MNS chief Raj Thackeray is one of the most controversial politicians in India, often in the news for his party's fight against migrants in Mumbai. Raj Thackeray, in this rare Frankly Speaking interview, tried to link the rising crime in Mumbai to the migrant influx.
ठाकरे जी, सवाल मेरा थोड़ा सा ब्रॉड बेस्ड है.
बोलो ना.
मेरा सवाल ये है कि अगर किसी ने महाराष्ट्र पुलिस के इन्वेस्टिगेशन में किसी तरह की बाधा दी, तो उसके लिए मुंबई में रहने वाला एक हार्ड वर्किंग बिहार का आदमी, उसे क्यों ये लगे कि मैं टारगेट बनूंगा? क्योंकि कोई दो स्टेट्स के एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बीच में कोई तालमेल नहीं बनती है, उसके लिए मुंबई में रहने वाले किसी बिहार या उत्तर प्रदेश या किसी और राज्य के व्यक्ति को इनसिक्योरिटी क्यों हो? राज ठाकरे ऐसा कमेंट क्यों करे कि उन्हें लगे कि हमको भी टारगेट किया जाए?
मैं वही बता रहा हूँ अर्नब, मेरी पूरी बात समझ लो कि एक बार आप पुलिस को कानून सिखा रहे हो, फिर इंटर स्टेट माइग्रेशन एक्ट जो है मेरे सामने है जी, बराबर है, उसमें जो कहा है वो भी तो कानून है. फिर आप यहाँ से ट्रेन भर के जब बाहर से महाराष्ट्र में लोग आते हैं, तो वो जो कानून बनाया गया है आपको इन्फॉर्म करना पड़ता है कि हम लोग आए हैं इस काम के लिए. फिर वो अप्लाई क्यों नहीं हो रहा है? सो मैंने वही कहा कि वो अप्लाई करे क्या?
वो तो अप्लाई फिर महाराष्ट्र के लोगों पर भी. मैं
वही बोल रहा हूँ, वो अप्लाई करे क्या?
आप वो थ्रेट दे रहे हैं? नहीं,
बात थ्रेट की नहीं है. बात ये है कि आप वहाँ पे जाके महाराष्ट्र की पुलिस जाके या कहीं और स्टेट की, बेंगलोर की, सुनो मेरी बात, अभी पूना में बॉम्ब ब्लास्ट हुआ, है? उसका जो आरोपी पकड़ा गया बिहार से है, जो जर्मन बेकरी का जो ब्लास्ट हुआ था, जो जेल में ही मर गया आदमी। बैंगलोर की पुलिस जाके पकड़ रही है, उत्तर प्रदेश में जा रही है, बिहार में। मुझे सिर्फ इतना ही कहना है, आप मेरे को जो सवाल पूछ रहे हैं ना, एक बार उनके स्टेट को जाके सवाल पूछो ना।
आप बिहार और उत्तर प्रदेश को क्यों टारगेट?
क्योंकि वहां से क्राइम बढ़ते जा रहा है और वहां के जो दो स्टेट्स है वो ये सारी चीजें कंट्रोल नहीं कर पा रहे। क्योंकि आप देखिए, पाकिस्तान से नेपाल के थ्रू यहाँ पे आने वाले जो लोग हैं वो है उत्तर प्रदेश में, बांग्लादेश से आने वाले लोग जो हैं वो आपके यहाँ पे बिहार में है, आसाम में जा रहे हैं। उस दिन जो सारी चीज़ें जो भड़की वो आसाम से ही हुई।
नीतीश कुमार के स्टेटमेंट को आपने देखा?
हाँ, देखा ना।
उन्होंने आपको सरफिरा कहा।
नहीं, बात किसी को कोई कहने से क्या होता है, एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम क्या है वो आप सॉल्व नहीं कर रहे हैं। मेरे पास अभी 2012 की क्राइम रिपोर्ट है बिहार की, वो आप ख़त्म नहीं कर रहे हैं। ये सारे गुनहगार जा रहे हैं और वहाँ पे उनके स्टेट में पनाह ले रहे हैं, और उसके बाद में आप राज ठाकरे को पूछ रहे हैं कि आप देश तोड़ रहे हो, आप गुनहगार हो। यानी कि जहाँ पे ये गुनहगार जा रहे हैं, जहाँ पे ये सबसे ज़्यादा लोग वहाँ पे है, आप उन स्टेट्स के किसी चीफ मिनिस्टर या उनको पूछ नहीं रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे ये लोग क्यों आते हैं।
Even before he could become the chief minister, in what would go on to be a 49-day failed stint, Arvind was questioned on his agitational politics. It was on Frankly Speaking with Arnab Goswami that Kejriwal, now the Delhi chief minister for the second time, would go on to bear his national ambitions and for the first time speak out on the breakup with Anna Hazare.
Can you just tell me that what could be my plans for the next 2 years,
I
or
don't
3
know.
years, or 5 years?
I think right now you're trying to be chief minister.
And then the prime minister.
I don't know.
And
You
then,
want to be?
And then?
Do you want to be?
It's hilarious.
You want to be?
No, of course
You
not.
don't want to be?
I neither want to be the chief minister, nor do I want to be the prime minister of this country. My only intention is that we want a clean system. We want this country to be rid of corruption. We want the people of this country to live in peace and harmony. That is all. Our politics is about, if we can get rid of corruption, I think if we can get rid of communalism in this country, if we can get all religions and all castes and all people together, and if we can provide an honest environment to the people of this country to do business, I think India is a country which can which can become a global superpower, which can become #1 country. By superpower, I don't mean that we will win over other countries, but I think we are first-class citizens who are victims of third-class governance. We need to improve governance, and we have entered into politics to improve governance.
Arvind, the whole charge against you is that of your anarchist approach. You make comments which don't add up, and you know, it's been a vicious fight. For example, this poster about rapes in Delhi. But there has to be a slightly sophisticated, subtle, or maybe if I were to say civilized way of doing things.
Rape is uncivilized.
No, 1 minute. A picture of you and Sheila Dikshit with you marked as honest and her as corrupt, followed by the slogan, इस बार भी दिया बेईमानों को वोट तो महिलाओं का होता रहेगा बलात्कार. Personal.
It's true.
No, what's it? बेईमान होता रहेगा बलात्कार. Is there no other way of saying it?
What is better way?
I don't know, you tell me.
You tell me, you give a suggestion, we'll change it.
Nobody could dictate terms to Shiv Sena Supremo Bal Thackeray, loved by his people for his straight talk that differentiated him from the rest. In this rare, frankly speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, Bala Saheb Thackeray spoke his mind on his party's ties with the BJP and the Anna movement. He didn't pull his punches.
What is your problem with Anna Hazare? He is
I have no
fighting.
problem with Anna Hazare because I'm not actually involved in the spectrum and this and that. So I have no question of Anna Hazare.
Haven't you seen the press?
This particular. Why this Lokapal is coming against corruption?
Yes.
Who paid the scabs? Then all Bollywood people came. Those who signed huge amounts in crores. Do they have any moral right to join Anna Rani's caravan or whatever it is? Why? What is this going on?
Supreme Court is also very activist of late.
You are not overpowering Supreme Court? How? Are you not?
It would be a parallel institution.
Why parallel? Why this paralysis?
Because they say that politicians, you cannot trust politicians.
Whatever it is. Then why the Supreme Courts are there? If this Lokpal is going to take the decision of everything.
But Mr. Thackeray, why haven't you spoken out about it till now? Because the BJP...
Why should I? Who cares?
No, because your ally party, the BJP, is very strongly...
I know any corporate behind me. मैं तो टोपी नहीं पहनता हूँ, नहीं तो मेरी भी सारी टोपी बन जाती है. मैं बाल ठाकरे हूँ. नहीं, कोई कुछ अलग खर्चा करने के लिए लेता नहीं मेरी टोपी के लिए. But I have protected my head.
Are you saying that all the political parties which are supporting the Lokpal, other parties, that they are all hypocrites?
Yes. Don't you think so?
Where will the Shiva Sena stand nationally? Because are you completely as close to the BJP as you used to be? Or over a period of time...
Nobody is close to anybody.
No, you are close to the BJP.
Close what?
You are a political alliance with them. You have a political alliance with them.
The question is, close क्या होता है? Politics में close का कोई सवाल नहीं आता है. आते हैं, जाते हैं.
A series of secret document leaks that tore through years of diplomacy, shaking the foundations that a few diplomatic ties are built on. When Julian Assange set out to release material that would reveal uncomfortable details the government didn't want out, he faced trouble. In this frankly speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, Assange spoke out on the attempts to malign his work, and in particular, the reaction from the then Indian government, which he claimed was the worst in the world.
I want to ask you a few questions in the context of India. I don't know how much you've been following what has been happening in India, Mr. Assange, but we've had a series of scams. Now, every time, and people in India would like to know your views on this, every time there is a scam in India, the government sort of steps in, or whoever's affected steps in and tackles that issue in what is seen to be a piecemeal way. It's more damage control. Handle one scam at a time, put it up to some process of inquiry, ensure that it is away from constant media attention. In your view, how long will this sort of approach last?
I'm not sure. When we started releasing these cables about India, we showed two things. One is what was actually in the material. So the various scandals that have come out, the relationship with the United States, the bribing in Parliament and so on. The other thing that we revealed was what the government reaction to all that was, what Prime Minister Singh's reaction to all that was, and other people.
Mr. Assange, everyone responded, everyone in the government began to say just one thing, that do you expect the government of India to respond to WikiLeaks papers? Do you expect us to take these cables seriously? I mean, at the end of the day, the description was that this is just diplomatic garble. It means nothing. It is, unverifiable beyond a point. It is one person's opinion. A government cannot respond to what is seen to be, say, the opinion of one person or a conversation that is, they called it hearsay. I want to know what you sense about that kind of a response. As if this is not serious matter, it's not legally verifiable matter, and hence, we don't need to respond to it. That was the response.
That was a clear attempt to mislead the Indian nation on what the cables were. And I said that at the time, that I found that quite disturbing. And we have dealt with over 60 different countries in relation to things we have released, in relation to the cables we have released. And the Indian government's response was one of the worst in the world.
He refused to go beyond brushing aside television cameras when confronted during the IPL scandal involving his son-in-law, Gurunath Mayappan. N. Srinivasan, then the BCCI chief, faced many questions but answered none until this frankly speaking interview with Arnab Goswami.
the whole business of whether the BCCI is a private body or not, which I will come to later. I'm sure it is by the letter of the law. Beyond the letter of the law, Mr. Srinivasan, is the call of the conscience. In the given situation today, where your son-in-law is the basic subject matter of an investigation of a panel appointed by the Supreme Court on fairly grave charges, my question to you therefore is, and I don't want you to dodge it by giving me a legal argument, I want you to answer me in a straightforward manner in terms of whether or not, in terms of moral and ethical basis, you feel confident enough with this ongoing probe and all that has happened and which is unfinished to continue as the BCCI chief.
Most certainly, otherwise I would not take up the position. See, I would not take up the position if I felt otherwise. And as I said in the very beginning, I stand by what I do. I stand for what I do. If I have done something wrong, yes, my conscience would not permit me. But in this case, that is not so, which is what I said in the very beginning. So I think if this is the road we want to travel, then in the sense that, I think we differ then. If your view is otherwise, you're entitled to it.
But let us not forget the fact that you are the father-in-law in this case of the person who is accused. But I won't get into whether or not you're responsible for Guru Nath Mayappan. As BCCI chief, what did you do? You had double standards in the way that you approached Guru Nath Mayappan on the one side and you approached other cricketers on the other. When cricketers were being blamed, you called them dirty cricketers and you called them, if I'm not mistaken, rotten eggs. When the allegation against the individual called Guru Nath Mayappan appeared, you called him an enthusiast. You're building a case for him. How objective were you at that time?
I think you are taking things out of context, Arnab.
Did you not say that?
You have to understand that I did not get involved into the investigation on Guru Nath. When this issue was raked up, I stepped aside. After I stepped aside, you see, these two judges were appointed by the BCCI after I stepped aside. They were appointed in a meeting chaired by, I was not present in the room. I was not, in fact, I didn't attend the meeting because I had already stepped aside.
BCCI chief, but I don't even want to get into that. No. I'm asking you, did you respond differently?
I have not responded differently.
When the cricketers,
I think we'll get into an argument now.
No, Mr.
Because I'll explain.
Let me just.
No, I've understood your question. Your point,
yes.
The phraseology, I do not remember. I do not remember exactly what I said. You may quote, that's okay. But so many things have been said about me also. Now, as far as this issue is concerned, the matter today, the Supreme Court has appointed a committee. Now, I did not appoint the previous committee. First, let us understand that very, very correctly.
You were the BCCI chief.
No, I was not. I had stepped aside.
Until this interview, India hadn't seen or heard the Gandhi scion and Congress president in waiting, Rahul Gandhi. In January 2014, Rahul Gandhi faced his first ever television interview, and his debut was on Frankly Speaking with Arnab Goswami. It remains one of the most talked about political interviews in India and across the world.
Did the Sikh riots take place in Delhi? Absolutely. Were they completely wrong? Absolutely.
Were congressmen involved?
Did innocent people die? Absolutely.
Were congressmen involved?
Some congressmen probably were involved.
But has justice been delivered to them?
There is a legal process through which they have gone.
You admit some congressmen were probably involved?
Some congressmen have been punished for it.
In that case, why don't you apologize for the 1984 riots?
No, so
the congressmen who you are talking about are still fighting their cases, and in 2009, if I'm not mistaken, Jagdish Titler, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, was going to get nominated as a Congress candidate. It was only following the media furor that his nomination was taken back. Mr. Gandhi, I'm asking you this question with all seriousness. Do you feel that congressmen were involved? And two, do you believe that you personally, if you apologize for the riots, there will be a finality?
The fact of the matter is that innocent people died in 1984. And innocent people dying is a horrible thing and should not happen. Okay? The difference between Gujarat and 1984 was that the government of Gujarat was involved in the riots. The government...
How do you say that?
I mean...
the Chief Minister of Gujarat has been given the clean sheet by the courts.
The difference between the 84 riots and the riots in Gujarat was that in 1984, the government was trying to stop the riots. I remember, I was a child then, I remember that the government was doing everything it could to stop the riots. In Gujarat, the opposite was the case. The government in Gujarat was actually abetting and pushing the riots further. So there's a huge difference between the two things. Saying that innocent people dying is absolutely wrong.
I'll move away from Gujarat, though I must say that I have not found this comparison between 84 and Gujarat riots, that they are two different cases. I can't take this at face value, Mr. Gandhi, and the reason for this is because in both cases, the accusation is that the government could have done a little bit more. But at the same time, I want you to, once more, if you can, substantiate. You stand by what you said, that you believe the Chief Minister and the government of Gujarat played a role in abetting the riots? You stand by what you said?
What I'm saying is, there is a difference between the 1984 riots and the Gujarat riots. The difference is that the government of the day in 1984 was not aiding and abetting the riots.
His movies stand out from the crowd. When Aamir Khan sets out to make a movie, he's not just making the 100 crore mark, but also selling an idea. A theme that India often connects with. On this Frankly Speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, Aamir spoke about the activist in him and his relationship with the media.
Now, the question is that, Aamir, if I were to ask you today, that when you want, you hate the media, you love to hate the media. When you need the media, you aren't shy about it.
Well, let me clarify a couple of things. This allegation was put on me that I use the media when I need it. Post that allegation, I didn't speak to the media for a number of years.
Why?
Because I was not comfortable with that allegation.
Okay.
So if I needed the media when my films were releasing, Rang De Basanti or Fana, I didn't give a single interview.
Yeah.
Not a single interview.
Yeah.
So if I needed the media, then I would be giving interviews when those films released.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm the wrong person you're accusing for someone who's using the media.
There is a charge of selective activism against you. That when
what does that mean?
Selective activism is, Aamir, as a movie release, he does a certain amount of activism. He's got something else coming up, he's going to do a certain amount of activism. And so it's in fits and starts and bursts, and it lacks consistency. Do you feel in retrospect, for example, some people say that you campaign for Narmada Bachao Andolan for a period of time, and then you didn't really take it forward in a consistent way. Do you also think about it, Aamir? Is it because of time?
I completely agree with your observation. Your observation is bang on. I am not an activist. I am an actor. I'm an entertainer. My passion, where my heart lies, is in entertainment. So I am not someone who is an activist who would devote the rest of his life in taking a particular cause forward. However, as a citizen of this country, as an individual, as a human being, I'm affected, like I'm sure you are, about certain things that are happening around us. So when that thing affects me, and I feel like speaking up about it, I speak up about it.
He's no more an active politician in the day-to-day affairs of the BJP. But Advani was once the second most powerful person in the BJP. In this Frankly Speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, Advani spoke about Ayodhya, the Kandahar swap, the 1984 carnage, and the 2002 Godhra riots, in which he says Modi as the chief minister had no role to play.
Mr. Advani, when every time you raise the internal security issue, the opposition stands up and says Kandahar, Kandahar.
That's much later. It's not nowadays. But at that time, I remember there was an all-party meeting immediately after the hijacking.
Yes, there was.
And in that meeting, everyone said, what can we say? It's for the government to decide how this crisis can be dealt with. But we must say that the security and the lives of the passengers should be the first priority.
Godhra. Now, how can a person who describes Godhra and post-Godhra as indefensible and a blot on your own government, how can the same person say that on this issue I had one of my biggest differences with Mr. Vajpayee because I stood like a rock behind Narendra Modi?
Because I believe that Modi was not responsible either for Godhra or the post-Godhra riots.
But moral responsibility?
That's a different matter. That way I would say that there are people, no one has owned responsibility for what happened in Delhi itself in 1984. No one.
But sir, surely you know, two wrongs don't make a right. If someone says, Mr. Advani talking about 84 is trying to justify the 3 days of inactivity in Gujarat, what would you say?
I would say that in no riot since 47 till today, leave aside 84, has police shot dead 200 rioters. And in Gujarat, they were shot dead.
Ayodhya, serious differences between you and Mr. Vajpayee. Straightforward question to you, sir, because you say that Mr. Vajpayee had problems with directly being involved with the Ayodhya movement. What really do you mean? Was Vajpayee more in favor of being part of the Ayodhya movement by proxy through the Jang Sangh, the RSS, the Sangh Parivar, rather than the BJP?
For a long time, we had never actively participated in Ayodhya, BJP.
Yes.
The issue came to us at the Palampur session of the national executive of the party. It was there that we changed. And this was after Rajiv Gandhi went in for the Shah Banu episode.
Does it pain you that during the entire term of the NDA government, the charge sheet against you put by PV Narasimha Rao in the Ayodhya case stayed, that it was not removed?
It doesn't pain me because I knew that there is no substance in it, and therefore I said I'll face it.
You don't think your government could have removed it?
They could have removed it, but if they thought not to remove it, doesn't matter.
Did you ask Mr. Vajpayee about it ever?
No, I didn't. Never asked about it. Never. It was too personal for me, it's all right.
Kalmadi needs no introduction. The man who fronted India's Commonwealth Games preparations also brought shame to a nation that suffered crores of losses and, more importantly, tarnished India's image across the world. After threatening to sue Times Now on several occasions following the CWG scam expose, Kalmadi decided to take a few questions from Arnab Goswami on Frankly Speaking.
More the cloud will be on you and on your organization. Why have you been so evasive?
I have not been evasive at all. I had that press conference on Saturday. I have a whole heap of jobs to do. Arnab, I'm the chairman of the organizing committee. I have got, if you just follow me by camera one day, you'll know what exactly my pressures are and where all I have to go. So I agree then a bit of the media gets neglected that way, but I've got so many jobs to do. I have to control 34 functional areas.
Did you not know that your organization was doing business with this company called AM Films?
Well, we had this QBR, Queen's Baton Relay function.
Was this a deliberate attempt to avoid a tender or a contract, which is really the charge that is being put here? Because the documents Navika is speaking about would indicate that there is a discrepancy between what you are saying about the 23rd meeting and the communication that has been going on from your office on the same procurements earlier. That's the very specific question.
Yes. They were talking to us that you'll have to do all these things, but we were trying to avoid doing it because we felt that will be extra expenditure.
But the negotiation was on.
I mean, that negotiation must be on. Now the whole committee is looking into that.
Negotiations can't happen without contracts.
I agree with you there. But I'm just saying it might have started there. But on that 25th, I got the minutes of that meeting. Please have a look at the minutes of the meeting, where they said you can't have the QBR going out unless you do these
Look at the email she has of the 7th of October 2009, Navika.
Even before he decided to call it a day, Sachin, in this Frankly Speaking interview to Arnab Goswami, would bat beyond the numbers and records. Here's Sachin when he first raised the R word, when he spoke about setting new benchmarks, on playing his game and planning his exit. On his own terms, like he did in the middle.
It's going to be a tough call to say that.
A few months before he announced his retirement, Sachin Tendulkar spoke to Arnab Goswami on Frankly Speaking in what would be the first ever time he brought up the R word.
Whatever my heart tells me, I just got to be
What
sharp
is your heart
enough
telling
to-
you now?
Well, at this moment, I'm okay.
It was also the first time Sachin indicated he would hang up his boots, saying you couldn't expect him to bat like a 19-year-old anymore.
What do you think about the whole question of retirement?
Again, I'm 39, and I don't think, that there is plenty of cricket left in me. Yes, I mean, it also depends on how I feel, whether I feel I'm in a frame of mind or physically prepared to deliver. If I feel I'm not capable of delivering when it's needed, then obviously I need to relook at the whole thing. But I also know that, at 39, nobody expects me to go on and on. I know that.
A lot of people actually do.
No, but it's nice of them that, that they want me to go on and on. But, one has to be realistic. And to me, I just go by what my heart tells me. The day I feel, no, I'm not able to deliver. Now, these are two separate things, scoring runs and what I feel inside. It can be a coincidence that, the same, in these three innings that I got out, the same thing can happen at the age of 25, nobody would have questioned. But it's happening at the age of 39, everyone will question, which is natural. It's natural. But then I am the best judge to evaluate things, because I know what is happening with my body or my mind, and then I'll take a call. It's going to be a tough call. It's going to be a tough call to say that I'm not going to play anymore cricket.
Why will it be a tough
Because
call?
that is what I've done throughout my life. It's been my life.
When you do retire, would you like to retire on tour abroad? Or would you like to retire before, say, let's put a situation such here?
I think let's not start putting situations, because then you can put various things on platter and then start discussing various things. It is not that easy to plan everything and go according to it accordingly. I feel when the moment arises, that is when we should be discussing and taking a call on that. Rather, I should be taking a call on that. But that would be the appropriate time then to talk.
A powerful politician in America now in the running for president. Hillary Clinton has been vocal about her views on Pakistan and terror. In this Frankly Speaking exclusive with Arnab Goswami, she fired a warning to Islamabad and spoke about America's need to pursue 2611 with Pakistan.
As you were here and you asked a lot of questions about terrorism, about Pakistan's role, and it's also interesting that the masterminds of 2611 were actually charge-sheeted in Pakistan. But that doesn't amount to very much, Secretary Clinton, because the trial is yet to start. The real action has not happened. Americans have died in 2611, people from all nationalities. Are you concerned that the trial, the real punishment, hasn't really started at all?
Well, of course, I am concerned if there is not a trial and if there is not justice for those who planned the attacks of 2611. I do have some understanding of how difficult these cases are because, as you know, we are still holding people that we haven't tried who we believe were involved with the 9/11 attacks. Yes. So what I'm looking for is a commitment and one that is carried through. Yes. The timing I'm understanding of, but there must be an eventual reckoning of justice.
Would you use some of your influence or offices, or would you advise the government of Pakistan to be seen to be acting against groups like the Lashkar-e-Toiba and the Jaish-e-Mohammed, which eventually don't just target India, they target the world?
Well, we have in our dialogue with Pakistan over the last 6 months been very clear that we think it's imperative that Pakistan go after all the terrorist groups because if for no other reason, any one of them is actually a threat to Pakistan. Because even if they were at one time focused elsewhere, now they are part of a criminal terrorist syndicate. They reinforce one another, they plan together, they give safe haven to one another, and therefore no terrorist group can be left alone or forgotten about. Every one of them must be the target of intense law enforcement and justice efforts.
Secretary Clinton, would you at any point of time, your administration, consider linking the large amounts of military, civilian, other aid that you're giving Pakistan to tangible action against terrorism, against these terror groups, so that there's some visible sign, which also assures countries like India, which are also your partners at a global level, that Pakistan is acting not just in one area, but also towards these groups?
Well, as you say, I mean, I'm very proud to be in India to deepen and strengthen our relationship. But I do want you and I want your viewers to know that we are always stressing the importance of counterterrorism efforts in every country that we do anything with, including aid programs.
Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam is one of India's most respected scientists who would go on to become the 11th Indian president. In this frankly speaking chat with Arnab Goswami, Dr. Kalam would go on to speak his mind about an issue that most presidents may not speak about when in office. The death penalty, Dr. Kalam said, needed debate.
Are you saying that without the nuclear test, India would not have moved in the right direction?
No, it is after all around you. Nuclear weapon state are there. You cannot do dabas. Okay, do you understand? So naturally the strength respects strength.
So you're basically...
So the economic progress, economic liberalization, economic reforms proposed 1990s, and India became a nuclear weapon state. This combination made this nation to grow faster. That's all I can say.
There are two sides of Dr. Kalam. One is the Dr. Kalam who believes that you must speak to everyone as an equal when it comes to military aggression. The other is a very compassionate Dr. Kalam. A Dr. Kalam who doesn't believe in the principle of capital punishment. You've been quoted in the past as saying, I don't know why, but it's only the poor who get the death penalty. And you know the huge controversy that happened on that Afzal case. Tell me, where did you stand at that point of time? Because I was completely convinced that at a personal level, you're against the principle of a death penalty.
You know, I will go whatever the type of law needs. As far as the Afzal case has not come to me, the present office did not till I was there, did not come to me. That question does not arise. But definitely the death penalty, I have a personal opinion, and it needs a debate. It needs a debate in Parliament. Okay, that's all I can say.
Certainly needs a debate in Parliament. The other time I felt was very important, when you sent a message, you did everything constitutionally right, but when you sent back the Office of Profit Bill, you sent a message. Of course, when it came back to you, you went through the process, but you did send a message when you sent the bill back to Parliament, didn't you?
Yeah, I sent a message, yes. Yes, I sent a message also, a letter I wrote, why I'm sending back. And definitely they form a team. They form a team to evolve the principles. So that also I am aware of it.
But when you sent it back, you also it led to debate.
It's a fact. First time it is sent in the history.
In the history
of parliamentary system, what you have in the government. First time a bill has been returned to Office of Profit Bill, returned to the Parliament with a note.
He has been engaged in a peaceful movement to free Tibet from the hands of China. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, in this frankly speaking interview with Arnab Goswami, spoke about China's demonizing tactics and for the first time opened up on whether the institution of the Dalai Lama should continue or not.
Tell me, Your Holiness, it's been now 48 years since you came to India. 48 years is a very long time.
A lot of things change in that span. But for your people, the struggle still continues. Is that frustrating for you at a personal level? How do you handle the continuing endless struggle for your people?
Yes, of course. The very reason why we left Lhasa is for Tibetan sort of, they are basically right for Tibetan people.
What about Tibet itself? What about the dream of a free Tibet? Is that a lost cause, Your Holiness?
What do you mean free Tibet? We are not seeking independence. We are seeking genuine autonomy within the framework of Chinese constitution.
At least the Chinese government is becoming far more rigid than it was even 10 years back, isn't it?
I don't think. Of course, towards me, it doesn't matter. They more like, what's it called? Demonized.
What after the Dalai Lama? And the Chinese want to have your successor appointed and ratified by them. And you want to, you are for a referendum on who the next Dalai Lama will be. How will this matter be solved?
Referendum?
How will this matter be solved on
who
follows you as the next Dalai Lama?
As early as 1969, one of my sort of official sort of statement, I made clear the very institution of Dalai Lama, whether it should continue or not, up to Tibetan people. Then the question is successor. So there are sort of possibilities.
What is your own view on the first question? Should the institution continue?
It is up to Tibetan people.
You have no say on the matter?
No. I have no sort of concern. Is it this institution should preserve? No.